Hello, my name is John Rose. In this video I'd like to take a closer look at menopause and osteoporosis. Now, I find it interesting that many countries around the world, women don't even have a name for menopause in third world countries and a lot of countries that are industrialized. And there's a reason for that. It's the way we live here in these industrialized cities. Our sedentary lifestyle, our poor diet, the amount of stress we deal with, the environmental toxins. There are a lot of things that are making these symptoms appear in these women, and they don't appear elsewhere. So a big part is our diet, obviously, and another big part are the xenoestrogens in our environment. I highly recommend a book by Dr. John R. Lee called What Your Doctor May Not Tell You About Menopause. And this was written back in 1996, but pretty much what he was saying back then holds true today. He didn't truly understand food nutrition as well as he should have, and he died because of that. And he didn't understand that as an important piece of the puzzle. But he understood that we have four types of estrogens, the type our body produces, then we have the phytoestrogens in the plants, but then we got these dang xenoestrogens from mainly petrochemical products in our environment. And then there are the synthetic estrogens. So we want to stay away from those last two, which again are mainly petrochemical products. So the problem with industrialized societies, these type of cultures, we're inundated with these petrochemical products everywhere. All the plastic, linings inside cans, we're injecting hormones into the cows, we're spraying pesticides on our food, all the conventional food we're eating has pesticides in it. And the problem with these xenoestrogens is they mimic our natural hormones, and they go into the receptor sites and occupy those receptor sites and don't allow the natural hormones to do what they do. So the problem with menopause, according to Dr. John R. Lee, is it's all about unopposed estrogen. We're not getting enough progesterone. So his solution, progesterone cream, which we now know is it can be fat soluble. When you put it on your skin, it can accumulate, so you have to be careful using that. But he understood the solution because our body is alkaline by design but acid by function. Our body needs protection from the acids we produce. Remember, our body's nothing but a bunch of cells and two fluids. Blood brings in the food, that's the kitchen. The lymph system is the bathroom, that's where the cells get rid of their waste matter. The lymph system is a lipid-based system. It's a cholesterol-based system because cholesterol is how we deal with the acid side of chemistry. So it's progesterone. That's how we prevent an estrogen burn, is with progesterone. So unopposed estrogen is going to cause a lot of problems. And the medical mentality is very one-dimensional. They only know one thing, and they treat disease like it's a war. They only know how to knock things down. They don't know how to build things up. So there are equations in our body that need balancing, like estrogen and progesterone, for example. So if the progesterone is not where it should be, we're in trouble. So what is the medical mentality? They don't know how, they don't study food, so they don't know how to build up the progesterone. All they know how to do is to use drugs or poisons that can destroy things. So that's how they balance this equation out. They just knock the estrogen out. Don't, you know, in any way we can, let's interfere with the body in using the estrogen. That's what they do. That's what most of these drugs are doing, like aromatase inhibitors, which are now used for postmenopausal women for breast cancer. Why? Because they don't know how to balance the same equation. Now, it's the same exact thing. They don't know how to build up the progesterone. They just know how to destroy the estrogen. And then what does that do? It leads to bone loss. Aromatase inhibitors leads to bone loss, and then you have to take a drug for the bone loss. And guess what they do for that? You got another equation here. Here we've got osteoclast and osteoblast. The osteoclasts clean out the cells. They get rid of all the bad cells that are inside there so that the osteoblast can come back and build it. So we have an equation that's out of balance again. And why is it out of balance now? Because the aromatase inhibitors killed the osteoclasts. And now, or osteoblasts rather. So now what we have is another equation out of balance. So what do you do if you develop the bone loss osteoporosis? Well, you give them the Fosamax, the bisphosphonate drugs, which are poisons, and that kills the osteoclast. So now what happens is, to balance out this equation, it's just like the estrogen and the progesterone. Instead of building up the progesterone to the estrogen, instead of building up the osteoblast and osteoclast, so they don't know how to build up the osteoblast up to the osteoclast, so they destroy the osteoclast. That's how they balance out the equation. It doesn't work that way. The medical mentality doesn't know how to build up the progesterone anymore. They know how to build up the osteoblast. All they can do is kill the estrogen and kill the osteoclast. That's how they balance the equation. It's not the right way to balance the equation. So if you take a poison like aromatase inhibitors that doesn't allow the body to communicate to itself and utilize the estrogen, then that balances the equation out. But that's not the solution. The solution is we need the progesterone. And guess what else the progesterone does besides deal with the estrogen? It builds the osteoblast. So in both cases, the progesterone is the solution for osteoporosis, to build up the osteoblast, and if you have breast cancer and you have unopposed estrogen, which is also menopause. So again, progesterone is the solution. Why? Because it deals with the acid side of chemistry. When we don't get rid of our waste matter, we become extremely acidic. And when people talk about acid and alkaline, they don't understand the role the lymph system plays. And I saw a comment the other day by a person who still doesn't get it. He still thinks he understands what it's all about, and yet he doesn't even equate the lymph system into the equation. That's the acid side that's killing us. Our waste matter is acidic. It comes out at 3 pH. That's why our lymph system is a cholesterol-based, lipid-based system to deal with the acid side of chemistry. So our body gets out of balance, and what do? If you go to a doctor, you get screwed is what happens. They don't know how to balance this equation. They're just going to destroy your estrogen, forget the progesterone. We need to build up the progesterone. And if you have osteoporosis, you don't want to kill the osteoclast. What happens when you kill the osteoclast with osteoporosis? The bones indeed do get denser. Why? Because you're not cleaning out the bone cell, the old cells, the old bone cells. That's what the osteoclasts do. Well, the bones are denser, but when you got a bunch of dead, dense cells in there, the bones are more brittle. It's not a solution. We have more hip fractures because of this approach than any other. So the solution is always to build things up. The solution is always to get rid of the garbage that's creating the imbalance to begin with. And how do we do that? It's simple. Do a solid food vacation. Go for the appropriate length of time based on your individual situation. And don't be surprised if it might take several months. Does it take a little bit of work? You bet it does. Anything worth having is worth working for. And your increase in productivity from doing this will make up for the extra little amount of time it takes to make this happen. So get excited. Go down below and listen to Dr. Roba. When he was on day 21, he was excited. Watch the Deborah Douglas show. These people were excited, and when you do it, you're in for a treat, and you too will be excited.